Welcome to yet another episode of Conversations with CFS here at Expo Dubai 2020. Today, we're extremely honored and delighted to be speaking with Ambassador Pio Wennubst, Permanent Representative of Switzerland to the Rome-based UN agencies. Ambassador Pio is here based on the support that the government of Switzerland has given to CFS, particularly the voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition that are at the heart of our conversations here. Ambassador Pio, very good to meet you and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to meet you.
I'll get straight into it because when we're chatting offline, this is an interesting conversation. Switzerland has supported CFS over the years and more critically on the voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition. Can you tell us a little bit more around the thinking behind that support?
Let's say that the Swiss, we've been kind of obsessed in our support to the CFS since the reform, because there are several questions that have been going unanswered despite all the work we've been, all of us, putting into food, agriculture, food systems, and so on. And let me spell them, some of them out clearly. I don't know whether it will be clearly, but I will try. So if I would ask you, what is the true value of traditions or renewed traditions that are assuring for everyone in a given society a dignifying life through food and a sense of belonging to food? Because this is something that when we treat food as a commodity, we don't consider that very much. Or let me think, another one could be, what is the true cost of food when we create a system that is based on you produce where you have a comparative advantage and you ship it around the world? We didn't consider in the past the real cost of all this in any terms, and time has come to think about this. Or the link between food and determinants of health, including social determinants of health. Of course, we knew that we need to eat properly, blah, blah, and so on. But actually, there is a much clearer link between what we consume and our health at entry before we start using health systems in order to fix problems. And this also is related to values and cost of food. And the last, but I would say not least, at least for concern what Switzerland is concerned in our work with the CFS, is in a highly urbanized environment and with still population growing. What about the youth? And what about the youth and the linkage with food system, but also the role that the youth can have in transforming food systems, in creating new jobs, new curricula? So the guidelines actually are not perfect. You know, who knows, if you know intergovernmental negotiating processes, guidelines are never perfect because they are a result of a compromise. And this we are perfectly aware, the Swiss, that these are compromises that you need to find. But instead of underlining what is not perfect in the guidelines, we like to underline what is perfect. And what is perfect is that for once, we have a look in food system and agriculture from a systemic perspective. So exactly, and a way to try to answer to these questions in the way what we engage in food system. It's not just about producing food or food security. Food security is a important part of it, but it's not the only one. It's a start. It's a start of a strong journey. It continues with the results of the Food System Summit, but then it's not perfect, but it's a way to move things a little bit swiftly now.
And I'll stay with that, and because I think that informs, as you said at the beginning, the support that you have consistently provided for the guidelines, and taking them out to the field now beyond guidelines, to being a tool that inspires action at the national level across the globe, because that's what every society should be practicing. Can you take us through that journey a little, what you're doing at the moment?
We keep talking about rights, rights-based approaches on food. What does it mean concretely? What does it mean concretely in, I don't know, in countries like Uganda or Honduras? Of course, in Switzerland as well. So we are supporting with a project that will start soon. One of the activities, concrete activities in supporting the implementation of these guidelines is one of these multi-country projects with several partners, including university. I think, if I recall properly, John Hopkins and other. Uganda is one of the country where we will look at a little bit the granularity of rights-based approaches in relation to food.
And that's interesting. I know the minister from Uganda will be speaking.
You will know much better than me, of course, what is true.
Probably the granular elements of what's happening in Uganda. And Switzerland is obviously providing leadership, but we need to have a movement of other nations who are that open in their support to make this truly a global approach to agriculture and food. What would you say to others to rally them behind that?
Engage. Yeah. You might shy away. You might say, okay, the guidelines are not perfect, should be better done, and so on. You can say that. But actually, it's better to say when we start doing this, it's better to say we were there, we were joining. So when things get tough, it's where we start playing. And this is where I would say we should all join in that.
Indeed, when things get tough, that's when we start playing. As I wrap it up, Ambassador Pio, and I would have loved to speak with you. It's quite illuminating to have this conversation with you. You are the rapporteur of the new CFS convergence process on youth engagement and employment in agriculture and food systems. Would you speak briefly about that and what you see coming out of that process from a crystal ball, if you have one?
From a crystal ball, I would love that we will be collectively successful, but these days are not easy days. In multilateral arena, we know there are different reasons for it, and food systems are complex. So my hope is that actually by focusing on really something key for the future, which is the role of young ones, but not only the role and job creations and looking at curricula and several things that needs to be fixed, but also how can we, instead of talking, giving leadership, how can we make sure that they will be leader? Because the young of today, they will not be so young for long. So actually how we institutionalize processes that make youth and the future youth coming and having the possibility to actually change things in the way they start seeing clearly. So this is what I hope that we get with policy recommendations that will do that, helping us to help the young ones.
On that intergenerational call is where we will wrap it for today. And Ambassador Wennubst, we wish you the very best in not only the engagements on that process on youth, but even as you support countries to implement the voluntary guidelines on food systems and nutrition. I look forward to speaking a little more later.
Yeah, me too. And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, really, talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.